Welcome back, agents. Deceive Inc's first major update is right around the corner. It's coming out in April. They have released an update preview, which is looking very exciting, so we're going to go through this today. So first of all, the first catalogue update is called Misery Empire, and yes indeed, we have a new agent coming. I believe they've said it's going to be a scoundrel, if I'm not mistaken, and here is a little preview image, little tease for you. That weapon is looking rather dangerous, but there you go, get speculating. Next, there's a rather big change in regards to the heat system. So this is meant to penalise players for just shooting random NPCs in hopes that it is a player. A tactic that a lot of people currently do, something that I have taken advantage of myself as well, in some scenarios where it's been beneficial. So how it's going to work with this new heat system, there's going to be 3 different thresholds, 3 different heat levels, depending on how many NPCs you kill. So in the first heat level, you will be 30% more vulnerable to damage for 12 seconds. This penalty will be renewed on your next NPC elimination while on this level. So if you do one by mistake, you really want to lay low and get rid of it. Second heat level, if you just don't know when to stop shooting, you'll be 50% more vulnerable for 15 seconds. Again, if you carry on, the penalty will be renewed. And of course, if you're just too trigger happy for this game, third heat level, you'll take 100% more damage for 20 seconds and gain exposed, which means you won't be able to go back into cover. Love the sound of these changes. I think it's going to bring a lot of the stealth and spy elements back into the game. I've noticed now that people are getting a lot more comfortable with the game. They're being a lot more aggressive, definitely turning into more of a shootout at the moment. So when you do get back into cover and stop shooting NPCs, heat will naturally start venting off. Interesting note at the bottom as well, VIPs are a special case. Downing a VIP, you will get the full heat level right away. So, big gamble with the VIPs. We're going to have to really study their movements now and really be certain it's a player. Now for the next major change, they're changing up team intel. So currently in team games, you can all get the same intel. They're changing this. So intel is going to be finite for each team member. So what that means is you won't be able to get the same one. You're going to have to spread out and gather different intel. So this is quite an interesting sounding change. So the goal here is for them to slow down the game. Of course, it's going to force people to spread out, to be a bit more tactical, and decide who is going to get the intel from each area. Also, as I mentioned, adds an incentive to split the team, taking more risks while speeding up the team's progression. So do you stick together for more cover but get slower intel? Or do you spread out, risk getting ambushed alone, but get more intel? So you can get your upgrades faster. I think it's going to change up team play quite a bit, but I think it's a lot of potential. We'll see how this one feels when it's out. Speaking of team changes, they're actually changing the team revive mechanic, which I love the sound of these changes. So at the moment, if you get downed, you can get revived once. If you get downed again, you're permanently out of the game, which is not very fun, I suppose. So they're increasing the amount of times you can be revived. You can now be revived up to 3 times in a match, but you will take additive penalties to your max health. So on your first revive, you will be back with 75 max health, second revive 50 max, third revive 30 max. And the important word here is max health, so you're not going to be able to go above that. This is very similar to how they do it in Hunt Showdown actually, and I think it works really well in that game. Honestly, a lot of parallels between this game and Hunt Showdown. In a good way though, I love Hunt. Love the sound of this though, think it's really going to make team games a bit more fun. You can still get those clutch moments, but you'll be much weaker obviously. You'll have to play a lot more safe if you've been downed a few times. So now they're doing some Vault Terminal room rebalancing. So rooms that have a Vault Terminal will never have a purple or orange keycard. Rooms that contain a Vault Terminal will no longer have a purple upgrade chest. But here we go, the catch. Rooms that don't have a Vault Terminal will have a guaranteed keycard, so an incentive to go to them now feels a bit more rewarding for not having a terminal, which is good. And rooms that don't have a terminal will now have the purple chest. So again, another big incentive to go after those rooms. I really like it because currently not having a Vault Terminal in your room can feel quite bad. Purple rooms in the vaults will now also have 2 purple chests per room to balance this. Green rooms also have a buffed spawn pool to make them more useful in the overall flow. Honestly, I love the green rooms anyway, so I think that's great to incentivize people to go there more often. You can find some good goodies there. Now over to some more general changes. So jump tweaks, making combat feel a bit more refined. So first of all, air strafing, they're kind of bringing it back a bit. So you're going to have less control when you're jumping around now in combat to make it have more of a flow, making fights more predictable and, as I mentioned here, easier to track. I think this will be a good change. At the moment, you have a lot of people bunny hopping around and it gets a bit silly, so I like the sound of this change. Solo matches XP Modifier, because of course the chance of winning in a game playing solo is less likely than playing in teams. They're now giving you more XP for winning as a solo. That's great. Of course, in solo games, you can have up to 10 players, so the odds are against you. Feels very rewarding when you win. They're doing some character hitbox tweaks, making them more standardized and fair across the board by the looks of it. That's great. Also, very interesting change here. They're removing limb damage from arms. So limb damage is now only going to be lower body. So I'm guessing like legs and feet. Waist up, including arms, will be a body shot now. If you weren't familiar, there's limb shots in this game, body shots, and head shots, all with different damage amounts. But as they mention here, like Cavalier, who has her arms up front, you would often hit her arms instead of her body, so that does make it fairer. I think that's a good shout. The fights will definitely feel more consistent. Next, they're doing some changes to the recoil of weapons, with the goal here to make the gunplay feel a bit better. Have to wait and see how that feels. And next, I love the sound of this one, vertical audio and weapon sound range. Something that's been bugging me a little on some maps in particular, Diamond Spire, which is obviously a very vertical map. I just cannot tell if the gunshots are up or down at the moment, so it looks like they're doing some tweaks here to make it a bit easier to work out where they're coming from. That's amazing. Looks like they've also done some general improvements to the weapon sounds in general, make it easier to pinpoint where things are happening. That's great. Next, we have the NPC Danger Range changes. So when gunshots are going off nearby and NPCs are panicking, this will be now more precise and won't really happen between different floors as it does at the moment. So if you see NPCs panicking and running around, running from gunshots, you'll now probably be able to pinpoint where the fight is happening more accurately so you can plan accordingly. Now we have a little preview of a preview, the ink menu preview. That's amazing, so we can see what the inks will look like on our weapons and gadgets before we apply them. Good quality of life change there. And result screen rework, so it'll make it clearer to see what you've achieved in a match. Good quality of life change. Oh, look at this season thing as well here. Little preview. We can now also see the XP value of our actions during a match. That's great. Help get players used to what gives what XP, what's worth going for, etc. You just don't really know as a new player, do you? They've also tidied up the HUD a little bit here. Your expertise is now here with your loadout. That's quite clean. I like it. Other changes, they've increased the gadget drop range. Sounds useful for setting up some good plays. This one is big, been waiting for this one. Navmode tweaks, so when you have the package and you're scanning and can see where people are, you now see spies instead of NPCs while scanning. So you won't be able to see who they're disguised as, but you'll still be able to see their exact location. And this is the one I've been waiting for. Mimicked players now show up in the Navmode view as a crouched spy silhouette. So no more people avoiding scans by being a mimic. And they do say that this gives the scan players a chance to reposition in between scans, still surprise the carrier since they don't know what disguise they have, which I do like the sound of. And of course, if the person with the package is being quite trigger happy with their scans, it will burn through their intel. Moving on, they've made some improvements to melee reliability. That's great. Loads of mine have often missed when I feel like they should have hit. Now, this is quite an interesting change. So Vault Terminal Agent Alert. If two agents of opposite teams are in the same purple room with an active Vault Terminal inside, so one that's not been done, the Vault Terminal screen will glow red, play a short alarm sound. So basically, it will make it harder for people to just camp in the room. So campers waiting by a Vault Terminal will alert the person entering, and if someone's in there looting a room, they'll be notified if someone else enters the room. So I think that's a fantastic change that will allow for a fairer playing field within those rooms, and should help to diminish camping strategies. Next up, they've raised the level cap. I'm nowhere near it anyway, but I know some people are there. So it's now 300 instead of 200. And levels 2 to 300 will require more XP than before. And a new completionist ink to grab at the end. They've also done some tweaks to cover regen timing. So cover regen's a bit faster when standing still. With the goal here being to try and minimize the effect of third parties. Next, they've done some level tweaking. So training range and pre-game lobby. Ooh, so we can now shoot dummies and have a DPS counter. They'll show you the raw damage numbers. That's amazing. Because I know there is a damage drop-off in this game, so this is going to be really important to finally understand what kind of damage drop-off we're talking about. Kind of in the dark at the moment, so looking forward to this one. And now for some level changes. Silver Reef. Oh, this is amazing. So near the Vault Terminal, they've added some props for more cover. The fights there are currently very dangerous, so yeah, I really like that. Should help people to push up a bit as well. We got some more cover here in Diamond Spire, down in the outside area as well. And we got a few more bits dotted around here, that's good. Should make fights more interesting. And now doors that lead to the Vault Terminal room are no longer transparent, so you can't see what's inside. That's going to increase the tension, I like it. Example seen here. And they've done a couple of door fixes and window changes here on Fragrant Shore. So that's all for this update. Honestly, what an amazing looking update. I think there's some really good changes here that have addressed the feedback. Very excited to learn more about the new agents as well. The heat system is going to be the big one for me. Can't wait to see how that's going to affect the gameplay overall. So that's all for this update preview. Thank you for watching. I'll catch you in the next one.